and Mike going back to the NCAA tournament here as we pull out the sheets of integrity. And, oh, look at this. Michael Smith in for Greeny. I had this matchup on my sheet, North Carolina State against Kansas. Yeah, right there. It's there. You know why? Because I'm in the 98th percentile of my sheets right now.
Humble brag.
So I'm pretty happy about myself. And luckily enough for us, we have the head coach of North Carolina State right now, Mark Gottfried, ready to join us on the Subway Fresh Take Hotline. Coach, good morning, and thanks for a few minutes this morning. And let's start off by, you're in the Sweet 16. Is your team peaking now, or is there more in them? Can they get better?
Well, first of all, if you got 98%, I'm taking you to Vegas. Me and you, pal. We're going to have some fun.
I'm with you, my friend. I am with you.
I think our team is a confident team. I do think we're playing the best we've played all year. We played a good schedule. We got better. And I think right now we're starting to become a team. I think we're still getting better. We're still improving.
You guys were a quote-unquote bubble team coming into the tournament. How much are you guys playing, I guess, with nothing to lose? Are you playing relaxed is what I'm getting at? Like, nobody gave us a chance anyway, so let's just go out there and leave it all on the court. Is that working to your benefit?
Really, we haven't approached it like that. I don't think our players have. I think there's something that they want. They want to go get it. We had our backs against the wall. We lost 4 straight towards the end of the year. We had to beat Miami for the second time, go on the road in the league. We had to go to the tournament and play well, and it's kind of a deal with us is we've got our backs against the wall. We're playing a little bit better. Everything seems to be working. I think it's more of that than anything else. I don't think it's a loosey-goosey attitude, hey, let's just go play. I think our team is improving, getting better, and I think pretty hungry.
Take us there. You mentioned it. Go back. Starting February 16th, you lose to Duke, you lose to Florida State, North Carolina, and then Clemson on February 25th. So you wake up February 26th, and what's your thought of your team at that point?
Well, it was interesting. We were down in the dumps, obviously, but here's the part when you go inside of it. We went to Duke. We're up 20 with 12 minutes to go, and I think our guys, even though they were crushed that night, and that was an emotional loss, you also walked out of there saying, hey, hold on a minute now. We're not bad, fellas. We're pretty good. Now, we didn't close the game out, but if we can play like that, and then we had to turn around and play Florida State and 35 hours later, and we weren't very good. Then we played Carolina pretty tough. Then we went to Clemson, and we get fouled up 2 with 10 seconds to go. We should win the game. We don't. So even though we lost, we were playing pretty good. We're playing good basketball. So we stayed positive. Everybody did. Understanding that, hey, guys, we're not that far off. Now we just got to tighten everything up, and we got to finish some games. And so it was more of a positive, even though we weren't winning.
This matchup with Kansas, now you guys have the size up front to combat their front court. What's going to be the keys to this game? What are you hammering to your team in practice that you guys have to do in order to move on?
Well, it's a couple things. One, within the game, obviously, there's a lot of things. You got to get back. They're a great running team. Both guards can score. Thomas Robinson is he's just a great player around the basket. But I think more than anything for us, our team just has to stay hungry. We have to stay with that same mentality that we are good enough, which I do believe that. That's not just, coach speak. I've been in a lot of NCAA tournaments. Was at UCLA when we won it in '95. I took an Alabama team to the Elite Eight. Our team is good enough. We're good enough to make some noise, and we just need to stay hungry.
North Carolina State coach Mark Gottfried joining Mike and Mike, ESPN Radio. Michael Smith in for Greeny. We talk about X's and O's on the court. When does it get to talking about specific players? And Michael mentioned it, Thomas Robinson, a heck of a player, obviously. So how much does that get talked about? Forgetting the X and O's, but saying, this guy, this is what he does, and this is what we need to do to stop him.
Well, it's a lot of what we do, and I think what a lot of people do, you're preparing your team for those things which a team does. Those sets offensively, how do they really score? What do they really want to run? But more than anything, our players, you have to tune in to personnel, and how do we want to stop him? I think when you play Kansas, that's the first question you've got to ask yourself is how do you want to try to defend that guy inside? He's that good. Then on the same token, you got the guards who I think are very good. They both are explosive and can score, but you got to know personnel. End up throughout a basketball game, guys switch, guys, substitutions. You're on a different player than you were earlier. You better understand personnel.
Well, you got a guy in Lorenzo Brown who's certainly doing his thing from the guard spot himself. Last thing for me, Coach, and I know the answer to this before I ask it, but I'm still curious if you've got to do any management in this area. Obviously, your team is focused on Kansas and the moment at hand and the task at hand, but looming beyond that is a possible matchup with who. You know, if they should advance, then you should advance. So how much have you had to keep your team focused as opposed to looking ahead to possibly seeing North Carolina in the Elite Eight?
Well, honestly, I think our players would love it. There's no question. We played them right to the wire in the ACC tournament. But I think our guys truly get this thing. They understand it now that, obviously you're not going to get there unless you play and beat a great Kansas basketball team. So, we got off the bus the other night. We came home from Columbus, Ohio. We had 1,500 people waiting for us. Everybody's excited. But we can't end up like the turkey before Thanksgiving where they just keep fattening that bad boy up, getting ready to take him to the slaughterhouse. We got all this praise is nice, but we better get ready to play. And I think our guys get that. And
speaking of that, Coach, we do have Bill Self on in about an hour. Any information you'd like us to get from him to try and pass on to you?
No, he's pretty good, and they're pretty good. We know it, so we're excited to play them.
All right, Coach. We appreciate the time this morning. Best of luck.
All right, guys. Thanks.
Take it easy.
It's Mark Gottfried, head coach, North Carolina State. He joining us on the Subway Fresh Take Hotline.
I thought he was going to come out. We're only focused on Kansas. We haven't even talked about it, but it's hard. You know how that rivalry goes.
18 to 22-year-olds, you read the paper. You do have to be on the task at hand. I do get that, but there is part of your mind that
Could you imagine
wanders a little bit. Yeah.
Could you imagine North Carolina versus NC State for a right to go to the Final Four?
That would be something.
Oh, my goodness.
Be a tough game for them because Kansas, that's Kansas, again, the 2 seed there, but they are playing well.
And I like Gottfried pointing out that, hey, we're good. I know the seeding makes it a Cinderella story, but we're good enough. Don't let anybody, and I'm sure you're telling this team that, don't let anybody tell you don't belong here.
Well,
You're not good enough to match up with Kansas. We have the talent, and we have the ability to play with anybody in basketball. And they've shown it.
You're right, because you just look on the outside and you see they go into the tournament sitting there at 22-12. And as I mentioned, the 4-game losing streak, to 3 ranked teams, obviously Duke, Florida State, and North Carolina, and then they lose to Clemson in overtime. But then he goes inside that, and that's what you do as a coach. All right, let's go inside that. Let's look. We were actually playing well, up 20 in the one game. We were playing well in some of these games to where if you're on the outside looking in, you just say, 4 losses in a row. Boy, that's tough.
But you, though, you saw them being here. So what is it in this North Carolina State team that made you put them in your bracket right now?
I'm just that good.
Okay. Or maybe you just saw them playing Georgetown.
You know what? I didn't even have Georgetown there. I had Belmont beating Georgetown.
Okay.
And I had North Carolina State beating Belmont. But either way, I had North Carolina State here because I don't know if I mentioned it. I'm in the 98th percentile.
Hey, listen,
in my bracket.
You're in position. I'm in the 2 percentile.
Yeah.
So, I'm in that opposite percentile.
Coming up next, we have a point guard who won a national championship. He can help us with the point guard that won't be able to play or probably won't be able to play for North Carolina. Mateen Cleese joins us in 3 minutes on Mike.